thank you for tuning in. I'm your instructor Joy. Let me first play a tune for you. This was a little excerpt from Czardas by Monti. We're going to talk about fast spiccato, one of those fast spiccatos. Some call it sautier, but this is a little slower than sautier. A sautier is a little more faster, a little faster and more on the string, whereas we're talking about a little more bouncing bow stroke, which is a little more spiccato in very, very fast tempo while string crossings. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for your continued support, volunteering with your time, booking lessons with me, and supporting me here, and also my Patreon page, supporting with your kind questions, comments. I really, really appreciate. So Czardas is one of the beloved, very popular violin tune, and a lot of violinists wants to master this beautiful piece. And this is one of those tunes that a lot of people recognize, and yet it involves a lot of different techniques. One of the difficult technique it has, it starts very slowly, and then this is very fast passage. Very first fast passage involves a lot of spiccato, but not any spiccato, but super duper fast spiccato while playing string crossings. How does one master that one? Even for those who already know how to do spiccato, when it comes to fast spiccato like that, it can be challenging. So I'm going to show you a couple, 3 steps that you can try, which should help you immediately, and then you can try it yourself. Now let's review a basics of spiccato, what spiccato is. Spiccato is one of the off the string bow stroke. When we call it off the string, means the bow starts away off the string and finishes off the string. When we talk about on the string stroke, means the bow starts on the string and finishes on the string. Now off string stroke, we're somewhat limited when it comes to bow placement, because we have to work the physics of the bow. As you know, with a modern bow, with a Baroque bow, and other bows might be different, but for the bow that we have in this time, the bow stick is curved that way. It made it purposefully like that, so we can do fancy show-off bow stroke like this, and many off-the-string strokes. By curving the bow stick a little wide U shape, this part, the bow wants to bounce on its own. So that's when the bow shakes or bounces unwantingly, because the bow has that nature. But spiccato is one of the strokes that you want to take advantage of this wanting to bounce nature of the bow, and then we want to make that one, want to gain the control under our control. That's what we're trying to do. We'll talk about bouncing spot. The spot of the bow where it bounces easily, which is from the middle of the bow to about a quarter to the front. If you divide bow into 4, the precise spot differs on each bow, depending on how the bow is made and what kind of type of wood density and curvedness and so on. But generally speaking, from the middle to the quarter from the front would be about a good spot to treat it as a bouncing spot. The difference between the bouncing spot near the front versus the middle would be the middle is the one that for the fast bouncing bow stroke, whereas the one closer to the front is rather slower and wider one. Yeah. Sometimes we need this kind of wider, slower spiccato. Sometimes we need fast one. Okay, we reviewed that one. Now, let's say you know how to do spiccato slow, like that. Slow one is fine, but whenever it has fast one, we're having hard time to keep the bow bouncing and losing the control, and sometimes the bow stops bouncing, and it was working at the beginning, but somehow it stops bouncing and you lose control, and so on. That's a common problem. Do not worry. When it happens, it's always a good idea to make a step back and observe and analyze what it is and go back to the basics. So now let's talk about, we're talking about fast spiccato, which is make sure you check your bow placement is correct. It has to be in the middle. Yeah. Now, when it comes to fast strokes, whether it's spiccato, legato, or any other strokes, one has to learn to think notes as a group. One cannot think one individual note. If we think like individually, slowly, we act slowly. That we're limiting ourselves mentally already. So it's important to think as a group so that it will help us to get faster, to process the thought faster. So think about group of 4. It's very, very important. Now, so when it comes to fast bouncing spot, the basic techniques is this one. So later, when you get comfortable, you can relax your shoulder and by lowering your elbow a bit. But when you're new to this one, just create a little natural distance between bow hair and the string by raising your elbow and then by raising wrist a bit. That way the bow wants to stay off the string. The bow wants to keep bouncing. Wow. And then now you're slamming your wrist. You just allow the bow to bounce on its own. So when you do that, it should hit the string and then want to bounce off. Yeah, make sure you throw that one in the middle. So just try that one. Raise your elbow and the wrist a bit to create the natural distance, and then basically you're slumming the wrist this way. Here, the finger joint, including the thumb, has to be nice and flexible to move along. The initiation movement happens from the wrist, but the rest of the fingers, so is the elbow, should follow. Like this. Once you're done, then see if you can catch the second bouncing one, and then change to up bow. So when you just throw the bow bounces on its own, right? So what we're trying to do is from this one, we're just going slamming the wrist downwards. Now after this one, we'll catch the first one and then change to up bow. So now we'll start thinking about group. Instead of 1, 2 individual stroke, we're thinking as a group of 2. So with one impulse, slamming the wrist, we're creating down and up 2 fast spiccatos, and that's the start of any fast strokes. So when it comes to bouncing spots, it's very, very important. Here the important one is trying not to create or try to not push the bow too hard. All you have to do is change the direction. When you slam the wrist wants to neutralize its position naturally by coming up and will create up bow naturally. So you don't actually have to do much other than just to relax. Again. Once you're done, then see if you can do 3 strokes. And if you feel comfortable, then try to do 4. Raise a bit more. Notice I'm raising a bit to initiate the bouncing. What I'm trying to do is we're trying to unbalance the bow. So slamming the wrist happens there. Yeah? But just like when I throw the bow, it starts bouncing big and at some point it dies off. That means that's my last point. That's very important that we have to reinforce the slamming or reinforce the impulse. So now here we do 1, 2, 3, 4, raise it, and again another one. Now, so once you learn how to do fast 4 spiccato, that we want to do consecutively like a manual, multiple fast spiccatos when necessary. How do we do that? So this reinforcing has to happen right after relaxing it. So here, in order to reinforce, in order to apply new impulse, I have to let go of my right elbow holding too firmly. That way will allow me to give another impulse or another attack. Again. Instead of pausing, what you do is you do this relaxing and reinforcing at the end of the previous group. So we learn how to produce 4 spiccato. On the 3rd and 4th, you need to relax and reinforce the next impulse to keep the bow bouncing like this. Yeah, again, 1, 2, relax, reinforce, 1, 2, relax, reinforce, and then you see if you can do continually, and you should be able to do it with a final movement or with a small movement. There's great attitude. One could work on this one for many hours, but I'm trying to make into this one video. So there's a great etude that you could work on, which is Mazza study, the very last one. So there's a Mazza study number 20, I believe 20, very last one, yeah. So here basically, by playing each note 4 times, we're just training and the motion with a repetition, which is a very important part of the mastering any technique. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all happy practicing and happy new year to all of you. Bye bye.